Hey, everybody, it's John Michael, and I just wanted to start this new chapter in our lives, in the lives of our country, the lives of so many of us, by sharing with you a few thoughts as this new chapter begins, as we put an end to the crisis of tyranny that so many of us have experienced over these past 4.5 years. To heal, President Biden reminded us on Tuesday night, we have to remember. And so it is with so much of what we're beginning to experience as a nation, and I think around the world. We have to remember that the trauma of the past 4.5 years was not exclusively caused by Donald Trump. Trump was little more than a fetid, malignantly narcissistic poster child for a systemic crisis that had been allowed to fester unacknowledged for centuries, not just for years, not just for decades, that had been rotting away at human rights, undermining our democracy, causing us to forget who we really are. You see, we have to remember that we built this country on the backs of those who are founders enslaved. That even when Lincoln announced the so-called Emancipation Proclamation of those enslaved persons, little was done to address the mental enslavement, the trauma that we already inflicted. Nothing was done to address the denial that the polite and woke gentry in the North, who excused their own cultural biases against those who were African or Hispanic or Caribbean or Italian or Arabic or Sicilian, the inconveniently brown and black people that they had a cultural bias against by claiming to have been on the right side of the Civil War. And so that disease festered because we failed to remember that we all shared a part in that oppression. The great Rabbi Jesus told his followers that if they came to a certain place and that place did not welcome them, was not of their accord, that they should shake off every speck of dust from their sandals and move on. Now, he didn't say that you should just move on. He didn't say screw them. He said, shake every speck of dust from your sandals. Why? Because a single grain of sand that was left in their sandals from that unwelcoming place could become an irritant. That irritation could become a blister. That blister could become infected. And that infection could cost them their limb or ultimately their life. And so we say, to heal, we must remember. Now, as a gender nonconforming, queer, non-theistic practitioner of the metaphysical and occult arts and sciences, whose ancestors were darker skinned, I have to remember not only the persecution that my ancestors experienced, not only that some of the great lynchings in this country took place against my ancestors and Italian people and Sicilians in New Orleans, for example, but that the literal whitewashing that occurred as those more recent ancestors married lighter-skinned men and women in order to create progeny that was no longer dark-skinned, whether that was done mindfully or done subconsciously, that is still a form of racism. And so I must remember if I'm going to heal it. If I'm going to heal the ancestors, I have to remember where we've been. Now, I know Trump is likely binge eating Crystal hamburgers and Chick-fil-A down at his country club, but Trumpism remains alive and well. It remains a threat. It's poisoned the minds of nearly half of the House of Representatives and most of the Republican houses of representatives on the state levels who are working to destroy our democracy right now under the cover of darkness in the new version of Klan rallies, with their coup attempts and their acts of subversive sedition that continue unchecked. Now, I don't want to be negative. I'm not trying to piss on anybody's cornflakes, And yeah, I celebrate the election of amazing people that I've had the pleasure of getting to know, like Raphael Warnock and John Ossoff, whom I've not had the pleasure of meeting, who unseated two of the most disgraceful, corrupt, vile, racist pieces of shit that have ever darkened the halls of the Senate. I celebrate their victories. And I watched with joy, like so many of you, as Joseph Biden and Kamala Devi Harris swore their oaths of office yesterday. But the work, the real work, the holding of the enemies of democracy accountable, as well as their enablers, the calling out of all systems that deny the basic human rights of others and inflict injury and uphold racist ideals, the work of remembering and the work of healing, that lies ahead of us. That's the hard work. That's the work that we have to pick up the mantle and do. And no one's responsible for ensuring it except for you and me. So my commitment will be to devote the next 365 days to spending a few minutes every day encouraging all of those connected to me to begin making a single shift in their mindsets every day. A single shift toward a more inclusive and holistic and healthy way of living, a more magical way of living. Reminding myself and those that I care about that the work of healing begins with remembering who we are and forgiving who we've been in the past. And so I hope you guys will join me. It'll take just 5 minutes a day to tune in and watch the videos and maybe if it resonates with you, apply it to your lives. Whether you live in the United States or North America or anywhere around the world, I think making these single shifts every day toward a more magical, inclusive, and holistic way of living could only have a powerful effect on the entire world. Because in order to heal, we have to remember. I love and appreciate you guys, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow as we get started.